Thoughts are a preoccupation. People who are too much in thoughts remain in a private kind of world. They have their own world of thoughts and dreams and projections and desires. They go on rushing here and there, but they don't look at the trees, the greenery, the flowers, the birds, the people, the children. They can't see anything. I have heard a very old joke, but one of tremendous importance. Michelangelo was working on his famous ceiling in the Sistine Chapel. For 7 years he worked on a high scaffolding, and he was lying there the whole day on his back working on the ceiling. Many times he had noticed that in the afternoons, when there was nobody else in the church, an old blind woman would come to pray. Somebody would bring her in and leave her there, and for hours she would sit and pray. One day, one hot afternoon, Michelangelo was not feeling like working. So he sat up on his scaffolding and looked down. Only the old woman was there, the rest of the church was utterly empty. And she was doing her usual prayer and tears were coming to her eyes. Michelangelo was in a joking mood. He shouted down, "I am Jesus Christ. What do you want? Just tell me and I will fulfill it." He was expecting that the woman would say what she wanted. But the woman raised her face, with her blind eyes, and said, "You shut up. I am not talking to you, I am talking to your mother. This is preoccupation. Who bothers about Jesus Christ when you are in a certain thought? Or in a certain thought process you become closed. Only that much of a tunnel remains open. You move in that tunnel. And that tunnel of your thoughts has nothing to do with reality. It is your thought, it is just a vibe in your mind, just a vibration. That's why it is said that if you are too much in your thoughts, you cannot know the truth. All kinds of meditations presuppose one thing, and that is thoughtlessness. And just as there are thoughts in the mind, so there are emotions in the heart. Thoughts have to go if you want knowing to arise, and if you want loving to arise in your heart. Then your sentimentality and your emotions have to go. People are ready to accept that thoughts have to go, and then your intelligence is pure. But they have not contemplated the second thing, that your heart is pure only when your emotions and your so-called sentiments have gone. Many people think sentimentality to be feeling, it is not. Thoughts are not intelligence and sentimentality is not love. And there are only two ways. All the mystics talk about two ways. The way of knowing of intelligence, and the way of feeling of love. But both need the same essential thing. If you are searching through intelligence, then drop thinking so that intelligence can function unhindered. And if you are working through the path of love, then drop emotionality, sentimentality, so that your love can function unhindered. Either you will see the truth through the heart, the mirror of the heart, or you will see it through the mirror of your intelligence. Both are perfectly good, whatever you choose, or whatever you feel is more in accord with you. The path of the heart is the feminine path, and the path of intelligence, meditation, knowing, is the male path. But remember one thing, you may be a male biology, but you may not be a male psychologically. You may be a female biologically, but you may not be a female psychologically. You have to look into yourself psychologically. The physiology does not decide, the psychology does. Many women will find through knowing, and many men will find through loving. So don't just take it for granted that because physiologically you have a male body, the path of knowledge is your path. No. A man is both man and woman, and a woman is both woman and man. In many ways these 2 points meet. The only difference is of emphasis. And if you are a male in one way, you will be a female in another way to compensate. If you are a woman in one way, you will be a man in another way to compensate, because the total unity has to be absolutely in equilibrium. All your feminine and masculine aspects, biological, physiological, psychological, have to come to a synthesis, otherwise you cannot exist. They all have to be absolutely balanced. So look into your own self. Find out who you are. What gives you enthusiasm, knowing or loving? What makes you ecstatic, knowing or loving? What gives you a song in your being now? Albert Einstein cannot go through the path of love. His joy is his intelligence. And you can offer existence only your joy, nothing else. That is the offering, the only offering. You cannot offer flowers from trees. You can offer only your flowering. Einstein has flowered as an absolutely beautiful intelligence. That is the flower that he has to offer to existence. That is his flower in his own tree. That flower has bloomed. A Chaitanya or a Jesus are a different kind of people. Their hearts have opened, they have flowered in love. They can offer their flowers. You can only offer your own flowering, and to flower, you will have to remove the hindrances. A real intelligence is free from any preoccupation with thoughts. That's why all the great scientists say that whenever they have discovered something, they have discovered it not while they were thinking, but when the thinking stopped and there was an interval, a gap. In that gap was the insight, the intuitive flash like lightning. When thought stops, your thinking is pure. It will look paradoxical. When thought stops, let me repeat it. Your thinking is pure, your capacity to reflect reality is pure. When emotion disappears, sentimentality disappears. Then your love energy is pure. Every seeker has to find it. Even though sometimes it will be very confusing for you to decide. There are marginal cases who are 49% feminine and 51% male or vice versa. And it is very difficult for them to decide who they are. In the morning the proportion may be 49% man, 51% woman. In the evening the proportion may change. You are a flux. In the morning you may decide that you are on the path of love, and by the evening you decide that you are on the path of knowing. Sometimes it happens that on the surface you are one thing, and potentially you are another. Sometimes it happens that a man looks very manly and deep inside, he has a very soft heart. Maybe it is just because of the soft heart that he has created an armor around himself of strength, of aggression, because he is afraid of his own softness. He is afraid that the softness will make him vulnerable, that if he opens his heart, he will be exploited and cheated by everybody. He will be nowhere in this competitive world. Being afraid of his softness, he has become close. He has put a great wall of China around his heart. He has become aggressive in the same proportion that he feels. He is soft and vulnerable. So if he thinks about himself in terms of the surface, he will think he is a very hard man, a warrior type, a very calculative man. He may be misguided by his own armor, he may be deceived by his own deception. He had created that deception for others, but one thing to be understood is that when you dig a ditch for others, finally you fall into it yourself. Or there may be somebody who looks very feminine, soft, graceful, elegant, and deep down he may be a very dangerous man. An Adolf Hitler or a Benito Mussolini or a Genghis Khan. That too is possible, that too happens. When a person becomes so afraid of his own aggression and violence, he creates a softness around himself, otherwise, nobody will relate to him. He is afraid that nobody will relate to him, so he becomes very polite. He learns etiquette, he is always bowing to people, always smiling, so that nobody can see the violence that he is carrying like a poison, like a dagger. If you have a dagger, you have to hide it, otherwise, who is going to relate to you? You cannot carry it in the open, you have to hide it somewhere. And once you have hidden it somewhere, by and by you yourself forget about it. One of the functions of a master is to help you to look into your real potential. Because that is decisive, not your armor, not your character, not who you appear to be on the surface, but you in the deepest core of your being. You as existence have created you, not you, as the society or you yourself have created you. Only from that point do things start growing. If you start working on yourself while still carrying your armor, you will never grow, because armor can't grow, it is a dead thing. Only your being can grow. Structures don't grow, they are not alive. Only the life in you can grow, the life that is a gift from nature. And meditation can happen in two ways. One is that all movement disappears. Then you sit like a Buddha, utterly still like a statue. When all movement disappears, the mover disappears, because the mover cannot exist without the movement. Then there is meditation. Or two, you dance. You go on dancing and dancing. And dancing in a moment comes of such ecstasy, of such extreme movement of energy, that in that movement the rock-like ego cannot exist. It becomes a whirlwind. The rock disappears and there is only dance. The movement is there, but the mover is no more there. Again, meditation has happened. Those who are following the path of love, for them dance will suit perfectly. Those who are following the path of knowing, for them sitting, Buddha-like, unmoving, will be helpful.